And welcome back. Now today we're going to do some investigative electronics because this device you see here has actually gone wrong. Now what is it and what exactly has gone wrong with it? Yes indeed, this device, which is the Home Alone project that I built 3, possibly even 4 years ago to go into my mum's apartment in Germany to monitor people movement. That's what this little PIR is doing here, to show that she's still physically okay and walking about the place. It was her idea actually. We did this. It suddenly stopped working. As you can hear, those little beeps. That shows that this is picking up the movements. Don't worry, it only does it the first 6, and then it shuts itself up, which is good. But it stopped doing it, and of course the first thing we thought of was perhaps the PIR itself was faulty or not plugged in right. We remotely. That is to say, I was still in the UK, my nephew was in Germany, he unplugged this, put a new one in, made absolutely no difference whatsoever. So we tried a couple of other things. There was not a chance we were going to diagnose it remotely like that, so it got shipped back to me. So it's just arrived. The first thing I did was test the PIR. Out of circuit, the PIR works great. The middle pin goes high when there's movement, and it resets itself in the absence of any movement after about, I think it's after about 2 seconds. So that PIR is fine. Now there's a little bit of jiggery pokery underneath all this. There's a bit of circuitry there and a bit of circuitry in there, all really to do with this. So let me show you the circuit diagram and we'll find out what went wrong. I want to give a big shout out to JLCPCB, and there's a few things I want to bring to your attention. First of all, as you can see, there's industrial 3D printing. Let's have a closer look at that, shall we? 3D printing is very easy, as it shows you here. Add your files to their website, make a click on which product it is you want it to be made from, and then just follow the directions on screen. Really, really easy. You can make shapes like these as well without owning a 3D printer yourself. You really need to give it a try. And to learn more about their 3D printing capability, watch the video with the charming Naomi, who will walk you through exactly how their system works.
Additive manufacturing is just another word for 3D printing.
Now here's the thing that will make you smile: purple PCBs. Yes, I've ordered one of these and I've used it in one of my projects. As you can see here, it looks very nice, and now they've got multiple colours, so yeah, choose the colour that suits your project the best. And don't forget the free assembly for your PCB, and it's $2 for 1 to 4 pieces, regardless of the colour of the board. You can't go wrong with that. Why not have a look at them now? Let me show you the circuit diagram and we'll find out what went wrong. So I had to reverse engineer the circuit because all the documentation and indeed the laptop with all the code is in my mum's apartment in Stuttgart, on the basis that when I went over there, because I normally go over there twice a year or something like that, I'd update the code and find out if there's anything that needs doing. But of course I haven't been over there for at least 2 years due to COVID. So I haven't got the documentation here. So I've reverse engineered the circuit, which is why this is a little bit upside down. But basically there's 2 parts to this. This is the PIR here, the sensor. This middle pin goes high when this detects movement. And after about 2 seconds, when there's no further movement in front of the PIR, it goes back to 0. Great. Except this PIR is attached to pin D3 on that ESP8266 Wemos D1 Mini, and it brings that pin low via this transistor as soon as any movement. But if that pin is low at boot up time, the ESP8266 will not boot. So to prevent that, should they ever have to power it on and off, which they do occasionally, sometimes the cleaners move it and unpower it and plug in the Hoover. What I've done here is to say the power from the PIR, this top pin, is supplied via this transistor here. It's drawn upside down. There's the plus VCC, and it goes through this transistor to power it. But the switch on of this transistor is delayed for about a second, something like that, through a 10k resistor and a 100 microfarad of capacitor. It's not a Schmitt trigger or anything like that. It just slowly ramps up the power and then this sort of springs into life. But there's enough of a delay on here to stop it bringing pin D3 low and preventing the boot up. So how simple can this be? So I checked that transistor, that was fine. I looked at this, and this was not fine at all. The 3.3 volts, which should appear at this emitter to power up this device, wasn't 3.3 volts. It's something like 1.4, and it jumped about all over the place. So I tested all this, and this was absolutely fine. Oh, come on, it's 3 components. How could it not be fine? And it was, except it's the 4th component, the one that I haven't mentioned yet. Yeah, this is an LED to show me that the power was on to the PIR. It's just a little yellow LED. And it was, well, it was sort of short circuit, but not quite. But the net result was it was sucking away all the power. So as this transistor turned on, instead of powering up the PIR, it just all went through the LED. Bizarre? I mean, have you ever known anything like that, for an LED to suddenly stop working after 3 years? Perhaps it's that 10,000 hour thing. I don't know. Anyway, I've never seen it before. Now, I did notice that there was no series resistor in line with that LED, so no current limit. Although the voltage at that point is only about 2.7 volts, and I think that yellow LED probably needs about 2.2, something like that. It's never that bright, but then again, that doesn't mean it's not being overloaded. So maybe, just maybe, it's been overloaded for the last 3 years and finally has given up the ghost. Maybe that's the answer. Yeah, there should have been some sort of resistor, I think, in series of that LED, even with that lower voltage. Oh well, maybe that's it. What do you think? And so this was basically stopping that working. As soon as I removed this from the circuit, well, as you heard previously, it all sprang back into life. So that's what I've done. I've removed it from the circuit, and I don't want it back in circuit because nobody's looking at that LED anyway. So let's have a look at what I did then while I was playing about with that. And yeah, well, at least now it's fixed, and I've got to ship it back to Stuttgart in Germany. Interesting, eh? No, not really. It's a pain in the... So this, what you're seeing here on my workbench, is the Home Alone system. Well, bits of it in pieces. There's an ESP8266 under there. Let me just show you that. There it is under there. Yeah, this is the Wemos D1 sort of stackable system, which I really, really like, I must admit. It made this project fairly easy. I've plugged an OLED screen on top there. Underneath there, you can see there's an SD card. That was a deliberate decision by me to use an SD card, even though they're not the most reliable things in the whole world, because obviously the whole thing is 800 miles away, and the only person who can update this would be my brother. So he has to take the SD card out on the odd occasion, which he has done, put it into his PC, make a few parameter changes that I tell him what to do, and he puts it back in, and it all springs into life again. Ooh, great. So that's why I've got the SD card, rather than writing it into EEPROM into here. Has the ESP8266 got an EEPROM? I don't think it has. Isn't it pseudo EEPROM? There, it doesn't matter. And that thing there is one of those TP2223 touch things, something like that. Anyway, very good it is. Anyway, they all stack on here, but I'm taking this apart because it stopped. After at least 3 years, it suddenly stopped working. And my mum says, it's not beeping anymore. And I go, yes, you're right. It's not recording anything either. It doesn't know you're there. You know, things just don't go wrong, do they? Or do they? Now, that LED obviously doesn't belong in that socket. I've just put it there for safekeeping. That LED, yellow LED, was connected onto the pin down here, that one there, which is connected to the collector of this transistor and to ground. And I've discovered, this is absolutely bizarre. I mean, after 3-4 years of it running, this transistor, LED rather, this LED has basically gone a bit funny. Yeah, I know that's a technical expression. But this now requires 20 to 30 milliamps just to light up. What I've discovered in my testing is that this would flash briefly when this went low, as an indication that somebody's walking by, but then effectively, I don't know, do something funny electrical and stop the whole thing working. So I thought, okay, let's just bring this out of circuit, and lo and behold, it all suddenly starts working again. So if I just remove that LED, what I'll do now is just put the multimeter on here, and I'll show you how this voltage ramps up. It's a really simple thing, but it's only got to delay this pin going low by about, you know, half a second or a second while this is booting, and then it's fine. It's not going to stop this booting after that point. So Yeah, let me just put the meter on and zoom back out again and just make sure that's all working okay now. Right, let's put the pins on here. Now it says 1 volt, so that's the residual voltage on the capacitor, I think, on the other bit of the circuit. But let's connect it up now. And there we are. You see the voltage ramping. It should go to 3.3 really, but I think it's going to stabilise around the 2.7 mark. So yeah, that's about right. Right, so that's D3. That's how it normally is on the input pin. If I put my hand in front of the PIR, it should drop. There it goes. So that's now it's detected movement, and after a couple of seconds the PIR resets itself, and there we are. So that's now absolutely working. Right, there it is all plugged in. I'm slightly concerned that I think there should be something in the middle here, another module, but I can't see it on my desk here. So it's got the beeper, it's got the PIR, it's got the touch screen, it's got the SD card, the ESP8266 is there, and the screen is on top. Okay, well let's plug it in and see what happens. In fact, what I'm going to do is bring up the debugging window, the serial monitor, whilst I do that so we can see what happens. Plug this 5 volt supply in. Turn on at the back. There it goes. Oh, reading all the parameters off that SD card there. The screen sprung into life and says, well, I'm waiting now for the Wi-Fi because it's trying to connect to my Wi-Fi here in the workshop. Oh, I must remember to change that back before I send this to my mum again because her Wi-Fi is obviously different. Okay, and now what that's going to do is talk to ThingSpeak to say, oh, I've just rebooted out of nowhere and I wasn't expecting that. So it's going to talk to ThingSpeak and send out a reboot -15 value so I can easily find it. Okay, so this is the ThingSpeak, and if I press that you get a graph of what's happened. There we go. Now I've called this activity hall. There we are. So there was the reboot, -15, and there's the +6 now. If I touch it, there it goes, activity hall 6, and the date and time. So that's really useful. And of course, normally there's much more activity there. So if I go back to the month view, look at the activity, you see everything was quite happily until it decided not to do anything and it was rebooted and it got stuck basically for several days. Okay, that's all good news that it's now working again. I thought it might be useful to have a look at some of the modules that I've used and that are available that I haven't used. In fact, a couple are shown here on the desk. Oh yeah, the triple board that this is all built on, this one here, this is one that I actually made myself from JLCPCB, as you can see. It's a doddle to make because there are no sort of tracks. They're all just connected, aren't they? Like strip board, but not really. You can see the tracks all interconnect at the back. So that was pretty easy to make. And then I made this one, which is like a double version of that. Now, I can't remember why I made this because I'm not sure that I've actually used this in a real project. It might have been more for experimental purposes, but that was pretty easy to do as well. Yeah, that was JLCPCB. Oh yes, there it is. It says at the top. 2019, good lord. Okay, right, let's have a look then where we can get some of these modules for and what the sort of price is these days. And for beginners, the reason why I think this is useful is because it's like Lego. You don't have to know anything about the actual modules themselves other than, you know, what their purpose is, because you literally just plug them all in together. The one thing you will have to do is solder headers on them, like this one here, for example, these long headers, so that you can connect them to something else. So this plugs into a socket on the board, for example, and then something else plugs into that, so you stack them up. So that one that hasn't got a long header on it, for example, that's just got a standard pins. This one will be the top one, so you don't have to plug anything else into it, and that'll just go into there, which is impossible to do on camera because it's all 2D, isn't it? Let's just give up. Right, let's have a look on Banggood, where I bought all this from, and just see how much they are and see if they're still good value for money. Right, okay, this is Banggood. All I did was put in this search term there, as you can see at the top, ESP8266 D1 Mini. It used to be Wemos. In fact, some of these have actually got Wemos on them. But the brands over here, look, it says Geek Create, however you say that, and LilyGo, which is well known. There's no Wemos anymore because I think Wemos was either bought out or consumed into another company. It's a brand though, not an actual firm anymore. But you might still find the word Wemos on the back. So the things that you can get then here, for example, this is the actual ESP8266. So £3.81. It's not bad actually when you think about it, is it? You can get 5 there. Look, for £14.74. I think I must have bought 5 in one go because I was playing about with them. Oh yes. Now this one, it says it's upgraded and all that. What it means is it comes with one of these antenna. So if you need a better range or either more sensitivity to receiving the Wi-Fi or communicating with the Wi-Fi or whatever, that can make quite a bit of difference. And I say that because on 2 occasions now I've had to install one of these antennas and it's made a huge difference. One was on my ESP82, no it wasn't, it was on my ESP32 web radio, the indoor one, but it wasn't on the ESP32 bit. No, that was fine, that connects fine to my router inside. It was on the actual Bluetooth module. Do you remember that KCX emitter Bluetooth board we talked about a few weeks back now? The range on that was, yeah, and I was in the bathroom sort of, I don't know, 3 doors down. As soon as I put one of these type aerials with this connector and this long wire and it just connected in, chalk and cheese. I mean, it's just perfect now. Get it anywhere, brilliant. Also, my storage bin lids out the back here that are running on NRF 24s, the standard NRF 24 just has an aerial much like this one here, you know, the printed circuit board one. Communication to within this workshop, which is only, blimey, it's only about 2-3 meters away, was, once again, yeah, probably because the walls on this workshop have got that foil-backed plasterboard on and goodness what else. As soon as I replace those NRF modules with ones that contain or could accept an aerial like this, once again, chalk and cheese. I mean, perfect communication every time. And the indoor one, the receiver unit, if you like, has also got one of these on. So these do make a difference. It's not a gimmick. It really does make a difference. So you might want to think about that. And this one, it's, mind you, having said that, it's £6.18, it says there for that. Okay, there it is. Yeah, it is just one, £6.18. And what does it say down there for shipping? £2.31 to the UK. Quite pricey, really, isn't it? Just to have that aerial you can buy, by the way, just about anyway. I bought loads from AliExpress, or a bundle of about 5 or 10 or whatever it was. And they're about £1 or $1 each, or something of that ilk anyway. Not expensive, certainly not to make it jump from just over £3 to £6. So yeah, you're probably better off buying the individual unit and adding your own aerial if the module can accept that aerial. It needs that little tiny push stud on there. Okay, what else can you buy then as part of this whole series of stuff? So there's a relay that can plug in. This is the SD card that I'm using. This one happens to be for 5 pieces at £4.64. 3 pieces for £3.86. Okay, that's probably useful because you can play with one and install one. So there we are. Okay, a couple of other modules that we didn't find on there, or maybe we skipped over. There's this SHT30, that's a sort of a humidity and temperature sort of module there, so that can be plugged in, yeah, and you can get different addresses on it, as you can see there, 44 or 45 in hex. That's useful. And you can get this, which is just a bare bit of board really, and you put your own circuit on there, pretty much as I did with that LED. Here's an example where I've soldered an LED and a resistor onto it, just to give it somewhere to sit, a home if you like. This little screen, let me get it out of the packet. Here we are, this little OLED shield, is it called? I mean, it's exactly the same as all the rest, but it obviously has to be at the top. You can't plug things over the top of this if you want to read it. This is absolutely great. I mean, you saw the stuff that I was outputting to that screen on that Home Alone thing. And yeah, you can do inverse text and all that. But the point is you can actually put quite a lot of detail on there in little tiny fonts so you can still read it. So yeah, that's definitely worthwhile investigating. Right, I think we're done here. If you're interested in this Wemos D1 Mini stuff, go and have a look at Banggood and elsewhere. I'm sure it's available, you know, AliExpress and your home type stores as well. All good stuff. Okay, I think we're done. Yeah, so if you've got any comments, stick them down below. Please do comment, because YouTube like it when you comment, a bit of interaction. Oh, if you do like it yourself, this whole video and what I did, then do give it a thumbs up, because once again, YouTube like that and it helps the channel. Yeah, it gets more exposure apparently. And yeah, I guess we're done, aren't we? I'll see you in the next video. I hope you're finding these videos useful and interesting. There are plenty more videos to choose, and a couple are shown below. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, just click on my picture below and enjoy the rest of the videos. Thanks for watching.